Hey Adam, how are you?
Hello, hello, hi. Do you hear
Well,
me?
oh, completely. You
Okay,
can hear me, right?
perfect. Yes, yes, I hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I was doing this introduction to the people about some things that we're going to talk and what this is all about in terms of talking and these conversations that I'm having with friends and colleagues and artists all over Concepcion and Chile. But this is the
Hmm.
first time we're doing something internationally, so
Okay,
I'm very
so
excited for this. I
thank you
was
very
looking
much.
forward for this conversation. No, thanks to you. Thanks to you. I'm so
And
sorry that I don't speak Czech language, but
Czech language is very difficult.
yeah, I'm trying to learn a few words, but no, it's not that easy. It's not like
Yeah,
English or
yeah, yeah,
any
yeah,
other
it's
language.
true. But you are in Santiago de Chile, or where exactly
No,
in
of course
Chile?
not. I'm here in Concepcion. This is in the southern central area of Chile, 6 hours
Okay,
south of Santiago. So, yeah, it's a different city. It's much more small in terms of the scale of the city, and we have a lot of modern architecture as well because of so many different reasons, earthquakes and
yes.
changes in urban planning and things like that. So, yeah. Well, you have been to South America.
Yes, I have my T-shirt with South America.
Oh, that's very
I
interesting, I have to say.
I prepare it for you and for this
Thank you
conversation
so much. Thank you very, very much. I'm looking
because
forward to getting to know.
I traveled to Argentina and Uruguay
Uh-huh.
and Brazil, and I really love Uruguay. I really like it's my one of the top countries in terms of architecture of the 20th century, which I find like a golden mine, but completely forgotten. And there is a lot of to explore still. And I definitely want to go again to Uruguay to see some more buildings.
Yeah.
But I, of course, want to go to Chile. It's like
You have to come to Chile.
I have in my library, I have a guide for modern architecture in Chile,
Well,
and
yeah.
I really want to go.
Well, you have to go, well, of course, Santiago and some places in the north of Chile, but you have to come to Concepcion. This is a very interesting city. We have a lot of modern architecture, especially, I don't know, from the 30s and 40s, even the 70s, but unfortunately the architecture is disappearing, it's
Hmm.
being demolished. We have a lot of demolitions around because of the lack of protection in the place. So it's one of
Yeah,
the worst things about the place where I live.
we have also problems with the think of like brutalist heritage here in Prague
Oh, yeah.
or in Czech Republic in general. They were like torn down like some really exceptional buildings, and we like many historians and people involved in architecture, they were fighting for, but no chance. Like money are the main thing, for like for some new developments and so on. So we are also struggling with put some national heritage status, national monuments to these new buildings, and sometimes it's a problem.
Yeah, well, it happens like maybe the same here. It's very sad because we have lost a lot of very interesting buildings, a lot of historical buildings, and besides, here we don't have in Concepcion this sort of knowledge about architecture,
Hmm.
especially in Chile. I don't know how things are going in Czech Republic, but well, I'm going to show you a book that's like the first book about modern architecture. This is written by Humberto Eliach and Manuel Moreno.
Okay,
It's
okay.
from the late 80s. It's a very interesting book, which is,
Hmm.
it's like compilation of the greatest modern buildings between 1925 and 1965.
Okay.
And in the introduction, it says something that is very true, that Chilean people feel, ignorant if they go someone like Ilita Parra, like the greatest artist of
Yeah,
our country.
yeah. Hmm.
But they really don't know anything about architecture. So if I say
Hmm.
Roberto Dávila, Juan Martinez, and I don't know, any of those masters, people are like, it's just architecture. No one
Yeah,
really cares
yeah,
about it. And yeah, it's a lack of
yeah.
appreciation
It's
for our own architecture.
Yeah, of course. Like I'm quite surprised that it's a kind of our environment we live in, important thing. And a lot of people just don't care, they don't completely understand, they can't find the passion in it or to see some stimulation to see beautiful building, or to experience beautiful building.
Well, let's talk a little about you, because
yes.
You manage you do a lot of things in terms of editorial work, in terms of investigation, and taking beautiful pictures on your Instagram, I can see.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful collection of very interesting cases of design and architecture. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about how did you get interested in all these fields?
Okay. Long story short, that my appreciation in art started when I was in high school. And I remember that one day I saw some beautiful impressionist painting in the book, in some random book. It was, I don't know, Claude Monet or someone from the impressionists painters. And I saw it and I was so fascinated, but in this one moment I knew that I want to do art and I want to be interested in art. But I never wanted to do it as an artist. I always wanted to be interested in, to interpret it, to challenge it. So I went to study art history here in Prague, Czech Republic, on the Charles University. And I studied 8 years instead of 5. I was not really good student because the environment was a lot of academical, very old-fashioned, and
it happens.
Yeah, it's normal. And I was much more interested in modern art and 20th century art than some Gothic, Baroque, and so on. So I started to do my own research, and I was so super overwhelmed by many years I spent in books and on a Google, and I was looking for the more lesser known artists and architects. And then I started to be more involved in design and architecture. And I started to write articles for some magazines about contemporary design, about modernist architecture. And we also started to do Okolo project with my friends who are graphic designers actually. They do graphic design and I curate, so we connect together to create kind of a creative collective, be able to work on kind of a complex scale of projects like exhibition, books, magazines, and all these things we can do kind of an in-house team. So I create concepts, I work on the content of the exhibition or the book, and my colleagues are doing visual style of these things and put some very contemporary touch to it. So we are a very universal team of people and friends, and we started in 2009, so now it's more than 10 years. And we still do develop our projects for institutions, for schools, for museums, for commercial clients also, like kind of a creative agency. But each of us, we are not company. We are just an informal collective. And each of us has also his own projects. So I have my project is this documenting of modernist architecture, which is my kind of a biggest passion. And since 15 years now, I traveled a lot of in Europe, but 5 years ago, I started to travel also more to US, to Japan, to Australia, and so on. And I just wanted to experience houses and meet people who have the same passions. And I'm not photographer. I do photography of all the buildings I discover, because mostly I discover them myself, alone. So Sometimes I'm collaborating with photographers, of course, on some special commissions like articles or something. But my photography is just pure tool of my documentation of these buildings. And so there is a lot of things around, and we did also, like under the Okolo brand, we also did a lot of projects which are based on the modernist architecture. Like, if you want, I can show you like maybe 2 examples of our projects, because I have a screen. Wait a minute. I will. Yeah, I will like. So, I will show you. This is our website, Okolo website. And these are some of our projects. For example, we have a gallery in Prague, and it's a small space, and we invite people from abroad to bring the exhibition in a suitcase, basically. And they are our friends, designers, and we always curate the exhibition. We write the text, and we also do the installation of the exhibition, of the show. So this kind of projects we do. This is, for example, for fun and for our own pleasure, because it's our own gallery, and it doesn't have any financial like income. But we also do projects for like a commercial clients. Like, for example, this exhibition was done for a Vogue magazine, showing the content of their issue, actually the first issue published in Czech Republic. And we were commissioned to curate the exhibition and create some displays. So we did it all in one team again. So these are kind of our projects, which are complex in the design, in the content, and you can have a look on many more projects. For example, I really like this one. It's a project we did on Casa Tabarelli. Casa Tabarelli, it's a house designed by Carlo Scarpa in Italy in the 60s. And we knew the owner of the house, and we were fortunate to spend a whole weekend in the house. And from our experience, we curate exhibition about the house. And the exhibition looked like this. It was kind of a reading sculpture that you were going through, and you read the informations about the house, about the stories, and it was kind of presented in the space. So these are some kind of examples of our projects. We do as a Okolo, as a team with my colleagues.
It's very interesting because, first of all, it's a collective work. It's not like an individual work. We're working as a team.
Yes.
And also because, I mean, you do a different presentation of exhibitions. It's like a different, way to present the material, to present information, and to also taking advantage of the spaces. Because with the Vogue exhibition, it was a huge space and very classical at the same time. And also with the Italian house, it was completely different. So taking advantage of the space quality of the houses, of the buildings, and it's very interesting. And well, you have.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, that it's really great that I can share these with my friends. We started as really friends. We started with nothing, basically, with no money. And we just wanted to do projects, because we really wanted to do it. We didn't think about money or something that it will be our job. We did it just naturally because we just wanted. And it's now 10 years, and we did projects for Victoria and Albert Museum in London, or for Hermès in France, and for really like big names. But we are still the same. We are still the friends. We really like to do it, and like nothing else. Kind of we don't care nothing else. We just want to share our passion through design, through architecture, and it's perfect. I have to say I'm living my dreams come true. I always wanted to do this, so it's really nice.
Oh, it's great. And when did your sort of passion for architecture begin in terms of paying attention to detail? For example, I don't know, for the floor textures, colors. There's so many interesting things on your Instagram in terms of balconies and stairs and tiles. I don't know, so many different things.
Yes,
everything.
I think it's the way that I am interested kind of between architecture and design. I love both so much. Like I love also fashion and art, of course, but the architecture and design, for me, it's one complete. Like most successful architects were amazing designers. When you see Otto Wagner, Josef Hoffmann, Le Corbusier, they like Marcel Breuer, Frank Lloyd Wright. And I like this moment when architects worked as designers for their projects and design custom-made, kind of custom-tailored elements to their architecture. And this is really, and it's the good question because it's actually my biggest interest. Interiors, to see lamps, built-in chairs, handrails, doors, which you can't see anywhere else, you know, because they were just designed for the specific house, for the specific space, and they are just there. And it's this moment of adventure for me to go to these spaces which were never photographed before, which were never documented. And if they were not documented in detail. They were documented in in general image. So it's the thing which I really love, to explore all these details. And I call it somehow as a alternative history of product design, because it's not product design as we know it, as a mass-produced things, but it's a same typology, but custom tailored for interiors. And kind of my dream is to do this kind of a huge book on just details. And I will show you this. I prepare here on my computer something. It's actually, it was the exhibition we did in Prague and London. There were two places. And it was called Homage to Detail. And it's basically a collection of my photos printed on a cards, which are placed in slots, and the visitors could go around the table and just grab the card and read the information. And all these photos, all these cards were details. I took photos of the details, and they were like maybe like 500 of these cards on the table. And so this is actually the project which really started my interest in detail, and I really want to follow it and do something more on this.
Yeah, because you can find so much beauty, in the details.
Yes.
There's so many things to say about details. I don't know if I told you before, but we have this group here in Concepcion called Teselapedia, and we like to do some research about the use of these materials, which is, I have one here,
Okay.
Glass.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen so many of those things in your account, which is very popular here in Chile, in South America in general, between the 50s and 70s.
Yes, I know, yeah.
And there are things like that, for example. It's very interesting. I want to show you something that it might interest you. It's a magazine published in Chile between 1965 and 1986. It was called Auca. It's it's not an architectural magazine. It's about design at all, because AUCA means architecture, urbanism, construction, and art. That's and it lasted for, I don't know, for about 50 issues. And it's very interesting to see the magazine, because in terms of design, of course,
it's really beautiful.
It's very beautiful. Also, the advertising, how they promote all the materials, like the tiles, all the ceramic and woody glass and wood and anything. Of course, architecture. And also because it features this connection between art and architecture, which is very common in South America for mural work, in buildings. In Mexico, it's very famous, but we have a lot of murals here in Chile as well.
Okay.
When you come to Concepcion, because you're going to have to come here, I'm going to take you to see this building, which is La Pinacoteca, La Casa del Arte, the House of Art. It's and inside there's this huge mural. The magazine features, the features display of how the mural is really. Like this.
Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's one of the most beautiful pieces of art.
From year is it?
The mural is from 1965.
Okay.
And yeah, the build itself is very interesting as well, because it's very inspired for this, during the 60s there was this feeling in South America of acknowledging our own identity, in terms of using stone, using bricks, using different textures that could remind us our indigenous people. I don't know, so many different things. And one of the architects that worked in the design of this building was Alejandro Rodriguez. And with a couple of friends, we wrote a book, Alexander Bustos and Patricio Seis. And we did this book that I'm going to share with you later, Alejandro Presente.
Okay.
As you can see, it's one of his houses, very Japanese-inspired houses.
Wow.
And there he is, very small. And it's very sad because he was detained and made disappear by dictatorship, in the 70s.
And he was active in the 50s.
He was active in the 50s and 60s and early 70s. And 1976, he was detained and made disappear by, the dictatorship.
Okay.
Very tough years here.
Yeah, I know. In all South America, no? You have a problem in these military regimes.
That suffered,
But we had it bad too. We had 40 years of communism, hard political repressions also. But it's always the same, politics.
Yeah.
But would be possible to see some houses of this guy, for example, when I will come to?
Sure.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I can make you a tour, because we did an exhibition. Unfortunately, they don't have photographs from the exhibition, but you can see. I have these postcards that were like souvenir for the exhibition. There's very good and fine examples of his architecture. We have everything from housing buildings to houses like this one, for example.
Yeah. Great. It's great.
It's very, and this is the House of Art, La Casa del Arte, on the outside, because during the 60s, Chilean architecture was changing a lot. It wasn't about, simple lines and these modern lines and very simplistic design. It was much more connecting to our own identity, including a lot of art, sculpture, mural, colors, texture like, moody glass and a lot of
that's
as well.
That's something what I am interested in also very much, this diversity, of a local architecture, like that, modernism is sometimes called as an international style.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I mean, it's actually not really working, because you see that in each country, the modernism got some local identity elements, and that's really interesting to see all these different countries, how they interpreted modernism. with some vernacular elements and everything. And it's really nice. And this is what I really like on Uruguay, for example. It's so special. You have really weird mixtures of styles and Art Deco and some like almost tribal elements, and all these things. Really, really interesting. So, like Latin America is still my top destination. I really want to explore it much more.
Well, yeah, I mean, and also in each country it's very different because, in February I went to the north of Chile, the Atacama Desert, and of course there's a lot of modern architecture in there, but that responded to another weather that we don't have here in the south, I don't live in a desert. I live surrounded by forests and all green areas. In the north, you can find that, and you can find a lot of flat roofs, and white spaces and a lot of open air spaces. And modern architecture is very interesting in the north of Chile. Complete contrast to the south, and with things like the house that I already showed you, that's very, sort of a Japanese-inspired design, but
yes.
And it's modern architecture, but also including wood, for example.
Yes.
It's very interesting to see, and all the spaces on the inside of the house as well. Yeah. And well, you were, the first trip that you made in terms of getting to know architecture, where was that? Of course, it was your city. I mean,
Actually, I started to write about architecture already on high school when I was, and I was living still with my parents in the north of Czech Republic, in a very small town. I'm from very small town, and when I started to be interested in art and architecture, I also started to see some houses, and I recognize, because this our area where I am from, it's called Sudeten. It's this where Germans lived, and Adolf Hitler he wanted this place because there was a lot of German, but it was Czech Republic or it was Czechoslovakia, but it was a region where there was a huge prosperity of mostly textile industry and the glass industry, and they call it as a Manchester of Czechoslovakia, because there was a really lot of factories all around. So there were a lot of rich people, and they started to build beautiful mansions like Art Nouveau, Art Deco, and also some modernist, but not so many, because there was a lot of kind of a more conservative clients. And in my city, in my town, I discovered this amazing house called Villa Nožička. It was a house built in 1932 by two architects, Ernst Milstein and Viktor Firth. I can send you some information on them later. And they were like a Jewish German architects living in Prague. And they designed this house for some director of something in our town. And this house remained completely unpublished until I went to the house. I rang the bell on the lady which was living in the house, and she showed me original plans. And on the original plans there was the name of the architects, and I already knew them. So it was great. I had kind of a discovery in my hometown.
It's very interesting what you're saying about, because it happened to me a lot. I own this website about architectural history in Concepcion.
Okay.
For 15 years, I created in 2004, and yeah, it's such a pleasure, to get to know a house or a building, whatever, and then get into the building, to see finally I'm here, I'm finally walking around this place, and my head is completely, in my mind I can find it. I know everything about the building, but I have never been in there. So when I first got into a house or a forgotten building that I wanted to, publish or want to save from destruction. I don't know.
Yes,
It's very
yes,
emotional. I have to say. It's
yeah.
extremely emotional.
No, I told it my friend actually yesterday that when I discover architecture, when I experience it, when I see it, I see the context of the place, the landscape, everything. You see the details you can touch and everything. I told my friend it's like on drugs almost,
Yeah.
It's like complete euphoria,
Pure joy and euphoria.
It's a pure joy, yeah. And I have it with architecture. I have it with music a lot.
Yeah.
Like I listen to a lot of like groove music and funk and all these like soul, emotional music, really beautiful. And these two things are for me probably the most satisfying in terms of art. Like to be in the buildings, in the beautiful buildings, and to listen to music.
Well, I'm going to share you a lot of things. I'm going to send you some books, digital books that we have made here in Concepcion with a bunch of friends, because we also work very, in a very collective way, because I think you cannot work alone. You have to work with your friends, and you have
it's the best.
It's the best, and because there's a lot of feedback, and you can get to know so much and so many different views. And I'm very good friends with a couple of architects that own this editorial, Dos Tercios. This is locally editorial. They have published a lot of books, some with me, some by themselves, about so many different things. I'm going to show you some examples of their work in terms of interviews. They like to do these, very small pocket-sized books, which is very comfortable to to read. And these are not conventional books. I mean, they are not conventional architecture books. These are interviews, so people can get to know the essence of an architect, how the architect thinks, what are his inspirations, for example, what are his views about politics, about society, about so many different things that also get to know. I mean, it gets represented on architecture. In the building, you can see everything. And it's very interesting to see how, oh, look, there's a heart in there. She was a student of mine, and she's the granddaughter of Roberto Oicolea. Yeah, it's very beautiful what's going on right now. And he was very important in Concepcion and in Chile. He won the National Architectural Award in 1995. He's a very important architect, well known and acknowledged here in Chile. And well, the other thing that you do is that you are an editor of Dolce Vita magazine as well. Right?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Not anymore. Okay.
But
it's a experience of working on as an editor
of the magazine,
working on the editorial field.
Yeah, I basically I work continuously in an editorial field like for 12 years or more on a kind of a full-time job, because actually writing is what I am eating for. Like it's my income. A lot of writing every week, all around, and I write for many magazines, like international, like a contributor. But for Dolce Vita, I worked for 7 years, and it was really great experience because it was my first job, like from my first proper job. And I wrote about architecture. This magazine, Dolce Vita, it's a local magazine, it's just in Czech, and it's kind of a wallpaper style magazine. It's more fashion also. There is like cosmetic grooming products, it's quite for women also, but we had also nice architecture and design section. And the magazine is good. It's a popular magazine, but it's good. And I like it still. I like it now more than I was there, when I was there, it was for me too repetitive then, after 7 years doing still every single month the same magazine almost. It was like really kind of a system. But it was great, and we did a lot of magazines. We like, as Okolo, we also publish magazines. You know, this
I was
one it's
that. About that.
this is experimental one, which is actually the cover is hidden here,
Okay.
and the magazine it's called Okolo in Liguria, and we did this magazine after our trip to Liguria, which is in Italy.
Wow. Yeah.
And we documented what we saw. We visited some beautiful houses like this. We visited this guy, Mario Galvani, who is the kind of a crazy organic architect, and nobody knows him. He is completely forgotten. And we visited his house in the mountains and documented the house. It's kind of a futurist version of a countryside house. And we also did, for example, minestrone in collaboration with one local chef, and we had amazing dinner. So it was all around kind of a experience of this beautiful landscape, Italian landscape and Italian craft and culture. And so we did like 5 issues of this magazine on different places. This was Italy, then we did Lausanne in Switzerland, and we did also Vienna. So, but these magazines we did also for our own. We never achieved to break through it as a business model, you know. We did it just for fun, and we sold some small copies, you know, like small amount. But it was as a kind of a, these things, I think they allowed us to do jobs then, you know, because they were really good presentation. And people saw it and they said, wow, it's beautiful. I want a catalog from you. My commercial catalog, I want to do it from you, you know. So these things are super important, and I always tell my students that you should do your things just from passion and love, and then jobs for money and so on, they will appear.
I couldn't agree more. Oh, of course it is. I mean, when you do things with passion, you know, with a lot of interest, things really go on, and things actually work. You know, it's very important to point that out.
Yes.
And I'm so angry right now because I don't have the physical print. I mean, of a magazine that we just created a few months ago called Island with a bunch of artists. It's half art, half architecture. Only two texts, one from the art point of view, another from the architecture, urban, you know, planning. Very critical, because here we don't have this culture of a criticism in art and architecture. So we want to provide that view to people in general. And
yes,
we already have our first issue, which is based, you know, in terms of the destruction of heritage and how this neoliberal, you know, system is forcing us to buy small apartments and buy a lot of things, you know, and architecture also becomes a sort of a like I think you can buy in a supermarket, for example, you know. It's not like you can find a fine job of design and space and things like that. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have it, but as soon as I can, I will send it to you so you can check it out, because it was a very fun job to make. And we did it also with no interest in money or something like that. We're doing it because we think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because someone has to do it. Someone has to do these things about showing architecture, showing design, making people feel like they have also, you know, good things in their cities. Because that's what happens in Concepcion. You know, what drove me to make this website 16 years ago was the fact that I realized Concepcion has a lot of interest in architecture from the 30s, 40s, I don't know, any decade. But people were like, we don't have anything. We don't have history. We don't have architecture. We don't have heritage. What is that for?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, just open your eyes and take a look at the city that you're living in. That was my goal, and I think the people, is changing their minds, and
Yeah.
actually they're looking at the city with another point of view, and saying, "Oh, look at this thing! Oh, it's beautiful. We have colors, we have murals, we have tinted glass. I don't know, so many beautiful details in the city."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's something we have in common, and I'm really happy to have this conversation because it makes me feel like I don't like we're not alone in the world. There are a lot of people like us, all
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
the
That's great. And I
yeah
think also like Instagram, for
yeah
example, this platform really allowed me to meet so many beautiful people and experts and people I really admire, like you and like really a lot of others who do really great jobs. And that's actually thing that when I started Instagram, I was a little bit skeptical, like social network. I'm not really
yeah
for it, but I really uh, found the nice way how to use it for
yeah
me and for my interests, and it's amazing. And we can talk like now, like about great things. That's what I really like. And I wanted to say about your city, how you were telling that the people just don't see it. I think the most important thing it's a curiosity.
yeah.
Be curious. It's everything almost. Curious to go and not to be lazy and like to explore.
Of course, I mean every city has some kind of magic. I think,
Yeah, yeah,
and you can find a lot of magic in architecture and design, and also looking up because usually look at this, this height, but sometimes if we, raise our head and our eyes, we can see so many different things in buildings, in
yes.
windows, for example, in Concepcion, in balconies. We have so many beautiful things on downtown
Do you
Concepcion.
have do you have Art Deco?
We had in a very, very past, because, I mean, Art Deco was very important in Concepcion during the uh, 20s and 30s. In fact, I'm about to release a book about Art Deco here in Concepcion. Well,
Wow.
with the quarantine and COVID, I think it will be for 2000 and I don't know when, but it will come out somehow. And Art Deco was very important here in Concepcion, especially in Talca, which is a city north of Concepcion, in the middle between Santiago and Concepcion, in the, almost in the middle, because they had an earthquake in 1928. And after that earthquake, the whole city was, reconstructed with Art
Rebuilt.
Deco
Okay.
design,
Wow.
completely rebuilt with Art Deco design. And in Concepcion, we also received Art Deco, of course. And we do have some examples, but most of those examples have been demolished, but not for
Mm-hmm.
earthquakes. And that's the saddest part of the Art Deco phase
Mm,
in Concepcion.
mm,
And in
mm,
1939, another earthquake destroyed Concepcion and Chillán, which is another city. And after 1939, modern architecture established, like we have to build this way, with
mm-hmm.
modern idea, with this modern, point of view.
Yeah.
And Art
Yeah.
Deco was completely, displaced.
Mm,
And but a few years ago, we still had so many beautiful Art Deco examples here. But Talca City, Mapsit, which is a very good friend of mine,
uh-huh.
who's writing, Talca is a very good example of Art Deco. They still have a lot of buildings in there,
Okay.
factories, houses, schools, churches. I don't know, so many different
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm,
buildings
mm.
based on Art Deco. I love Art Deco. I think,
Yeah, me too. Me too. I like it more and more
yeah.
because I think it's completely underestimated uh,
Oh,
by the history of art. And yeah, it's I think it's the Art Deco is kind of an international style of the 30s.
yeah. I mean, look, I want to show you something. This is a magazine published in 2000, which
Uh-huh.
is about Art Deco in Concepcion.
Really?
Almost all, yeah. It's a beautiful magazine. And unfortunately, most of those buildings no longer exist. But this one remains, only the facade.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
It's a very interesting case. Unfortunately, the building was demolished on the backside, but the facade remained. And
Okay.
as you can see, there's a lot of different examples
Yeah.
of how Art Deco was very popular here.
Nice, nice. This is what I
Yeah.
really want to know more about and all these things in Chile.
Yeah, yeah. Well, in Santiago, you can find so many things about so many different periods in Art Deco, Art Nouveau, neoclassical architecture as well, um, and of course modern architecture in general,
Yeah,
which is
yeah, yeah.
incredibly great. And oh, time goes so quickly.
Yeah,
Time
so
goes by
maybe
so
maybe
fast.
I wanted to show you last thing, if I can.
Okay, good. Yeah, sure.
I wanted to share this first this. This is the actually the Today Wallpaper magazine. Where is the article called Expedition Force, which I really like the name, and it's an article about my upcoming book. The book is in the print, or it's going to the print very, very soon, and I hope that this book will be released. And it's a book which contains almost 900 buildings I have visited and I have documented on my camera, and I wrote all the texts for all the buildings, and it's almost 900 pages of the book, and it's going to be published by Prestel Publishing House, and I'm very, very happy because this is my kind of a survey of my maybe 15 years traveling.
Like a summary of all the things you have done. 900.
Yeah, and there are buildings from 1900 to 1990, but most of the buildings are from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. So it's a kind of a global modernist survey.
That's an incredible achievement, I have to say.
Thank you.
900 buildings. It's like, wow.
No, but now I have already material for the second volume.
Okay.
I have
second volume.
I have more than 1,000 buildings I did not publish in this first book, but I already visited them after when I started work on the book. So this is I'm really, really curious how the book will look like. So it will be next month, hopefully.
So am I. I can't wait to see that book, of course. I'd like to have a copy, of course.
Yeah, I hope.
And I can send you a copy of my book whenever it's ready.
Yeah, we can exchange, of course. That's the good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Well, we're about to finish. Yeah.
Yes.
We're almost,
yes.
So thank you so much for this conversation, and we had such a great time talking about architecture, exchanging experiences, sharing our knowledge about our cities and our interests in design and architecture and art. So anything else you want to say? Because
I really enjoy it. Thank you very much. It was really nice and great treat from you. Thank you that we can be in touch for next time still, and I really want to go to Chile. So I think when this Corona thing will be over, I will do some South American trip, and so it will be probably my first destination. So I will consider Chile a lot. So I really want to go. And here I just show you something. This is my view from the window.
I know. Oh no.
This
is great.
This is here. It's quite nice area. There is some nice addition to the old apartment building from some contemporary architects. But this is TV. It's a building from the 80s, and it's sometimes they call it as the ugliest building in the world.
Yeah, they had that.
Yeah, these some surveys published by some newspaper or something. So, but it's quite interesting. TV tower with the restaurant on the top floor and with the viewing platform, and also one room hotel is there. So it's quite fun, and it's a kind of a symbol of Prague. So I'm living it in its shadow.
Oh, thank you for showing that. Well, I didn't say this before, but we have a lot of students here also connected. So, and a lot of the students will see this conversation. So, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's like an input of inspiration for them, especially during this
I hope so.
tough times that we're living. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we have to share and learn about this subject. So,
Okay,
thank you
great.
very much, and be part of this
Thank
celebration.
you very much.
I started this thing because, well, first because of the quarantine and I was kind of bored, so I decided to do these conversations with people, but also because my website turned 16 this month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a birthday celebration of Historia Arquitectónica de Concepción.
Okay, so congratulations.
Thank you, and congratulations for all the things you have done. Your research and your book and your work in general is incredible. So
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and I'm sure we can do something together.
Yeah, we have to. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. Great. So bye.
Okay.
Stay safe and have a great time in Chile.
Oh, you too in Czech Republic.
Bye.
Bye.